On this episode,
Boy Ray Arnett came out with a lot of stuff. He said that Liberace always had the net out. He was always looking for something new and something to take behind closed doors. And I was quoted on a couple TV shows as saying that people got very mad at me, but he would go to clubs and things like that, but he was hidden in the corner because if he revealed that he was gay, then again they would relitigate, and that was a problem.
from the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theater. Visit McCallumTheater.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Howard. We are back in the corner booth at Skip Page's Little Bar for another edition of Big Conversations Little Bar. My name is Patrick Evans, and I'm joined, as I am each and every week, by my dear friend, close confidant, and very good buddy, John McMullen. And Randy Florence is also here as our co-host.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my.
I'm glad this isn't video. That would have looked really stupid.
No, it wouldn't.
Well, only to me.
Our great co-host, Randy Florence. If you look up the word co-host in the dictionary, he is listed somewhere there. I feel certain of it.
Yes.
Dictionary?
How are you, Randy?
I'm doing fantastic. Do you have somebody that you'd like to thank for letting us be here with them today?
Skip Page.
He's one of them.
And the McCallum Theater.
Oh, the McCallum
Our
Theater.
presenting sponsor, the McCallum Theater. And go to McCallumTheater.org to get all of your tickets. Get those season tickets before they disappear, because they will. And our good buddy Gary Keefe over there with his hand firmly on the reins, making sure that... What did you think I was going to say?
I didn't know where you were going with it. He's on the reins.
His hands are on... He's running the ship over there.
Somebody has to be.
Yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, before we move on here, This is a really special time in the desert. Patrick Evans is now the chief meteorologist at KESQ.
That is
Congratulations.
true. Oh, thank you.
After 65 years.
No, so I was the chief meteorologist at CBS for many years, but then when we merged, we were purchased by the parent company of KESQ, and so Haley was in place, and she was the chief, and we all worked with her as the head of the weather department, but she recently left, and I was promoted to chief. And
what big changes can we expect?
I've made some enormous changes. Haley would okay things like 117 on October 1st, and I have firmly vetoed that.
Thank you.
That will not be happening again. No, we've made some other, great changes. We've repainted the weather department green room. It's very nice.
You've got a green room?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've upgraded the bar there as well. So
well, this has been a great show.
Yeah.
Oh, we have guests today. Should we get to that?
Well, congratulations on your spot.
Being here.
I'm really looking forward to one of our two guests
I'm glad
today.
you guys
so go ahead.
No, we're very, very pleased to welcome back to the program Bruce Fessier. You were one of our early guests.
Yeah.
And you've overcome that trauma and you're able to return, which is nice.
I mean, I was actually one of Randy's first guests even before you guys had a podcast. So, that was kind of like a trial.
It had been long enough, though, that he'd forgotten.
And we're very excited to welcome Jere Ring here to the program. Incredible entertainer extraordinaire.
Thank you.
We have three guests.
They do, indeed. Thank you guys for coming in because we wanted to talk about Liberace.
Why is that?
So go ahead.
Let's take a vote.
That's why I'm here.
Who wanted to talk about Liberace?
Now, you guys just hosted a fabulous event.
It was.
At Casa de Monte Vista.
And you weren't there.
I knew that was going to come up. No one confirmed with me.
Here we go.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
No, Deanne passed along the video, but anyway.
John, you want to explain this?
Randy was nice enough to tell us that his wife was in a serious car accident. So
Yeah, but that was a lot of trouble to go to just to get out of that event.
You couldn't have told them that my wife was with your wife at the time. That would have solved all of this.
okay,
A great event
I don't
for
have a
Amy's
wife.
purpose, and I want to talk. Does Johnny know that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. It was for Amy's purpose, to raise money specifically for scholarships for vet techs.
Yeah. Veterinary assistants, actually, but basically to get them involved in veterinary services and hopefully nurture them into becoming vet techs and ultimately veterinarians. So
because of the dearth of that.
There really is a crisis and a lack of veterinarians in this area.
And so Amy's purpose is trying to answer that need by offering scholarships and paying the full ride for the veterinary assistant program.
Yeah, it's a $3,200 scholarship, and who's going to pay that for a $17 an hour job?
Right.
So
it takes a long time to pay that back.
Yeah.
And it's a tough road.
Yeah,
veterinary school.
It really is.
Yeah. But this event was fabulous. Francesca Mari performed, and Jere Ring, I heard, also performed.
Ron Pass was there. Ron Pass, the pianist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you brought in arguably the world's greatest Liberace tribute artist.
Yeah, David Mayako.
Yeah.
He came in from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
he's my friend. I got him there. Me. It's all about me.
Jere-
Right.
Jere takes all the
Well,
credit.
what can you tell us about him, Jerry?
About David, nothing. I don't even know him.
They were terrific together. I mean, that
Yeah.
was what was an amazing part. They had such wonderful chemistry that it was a really delightful show.
I had met him on one occasion, the Liberace Gala, the first one I think was 5 years ago, at the Liberace Mansion in Las Vegas. And he was there, and I had never met him, but he was up and performing and had his costuming and all that, and he was just rattled like this. So I said, what if I did a duet? He didn't know me. I ran up on stage, and we banged one out. And on
then
the
you played the piano.
Play the song,
Oh, wow. I heard that.
Nobody's supposed to know that.
Sorry.
You jealous or something?
A little.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot.
Anyway, but then we did a couple of times, and then I called him, and he came in, and we glued it together. We have an incredible friendship now. It was just really great.
Well, this was a great event for Amy's purpose, but Bruce and I were talking, and you were talking a little bit about how Liberace's legacy is a little bit unsimon. He's overshadowed by the other names that we bandy about here in the desert, Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope. But Liberace, first of all, they shot the movie, the Michael Douglas film.
Yes.
What was it, The Candelabra?
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh directed the film. Jerry Weintraub produced it, and Matt Damon co-starred in it. It was a very big film. Yeah.
It was.
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Michael Douglas as Liberace. And it was shot at that Casa de Monte Vista, Joe Luisi's.
You were married there, right?
I was,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Andrea and I got married at that
I wasn't
property.
invited to that either, was I?
You were. You
What?
were. Yeah.
I were not. That's it. I'm leaving.
I was, but my wife was in a car accident. And I couldn't make it, so.
Wow. What's my excuse?
She's been in so many car accidents.
So many. You should probably talk to her about that. But now you actually knew Liberace.
Yes. In Las Vegas.
Do we dare say you were a protege
Yes.
of Liberace?
Yeah.
I know that is a loaded term
Yes, in certain circles.
in certain circles. But
I've been referred to as a discovery, if you will, that he discovered me. I didn't know that. Actually, I set it all up because I wanted to I wanted to work with Liberace because I knew his influence and his endorsement could really twing. So I read about him, and I met Ray Arnett, his stage director in West Hollywood. And he belonged to the Sports Connection, and I joined the Sports Connection. I never worked out, but I joined it twice, and I only went once. That's true, too. I don't even speak to people named Jim. What are you talking about? Anyway, but I met Ray Arnett, and he said, Lee is performing in Las Vegas. You should come see him. He said, yes. I said, this is my chance. So anyway, I said, can I go backstage and meet him? And they said, yeah. Long story made sideways. I went to the library and brought a microfiche. Is that what they were called?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And I read about, his kind of food he liked, everything about his travel, his homes, everything I could. So when I would meet him, I could deliver a couple lines and maybe catch his attention. And it worked. So when I met him, the first time I was backstage after the show, and he turned around and I said, I'm going to go home and practice my little fingers off. And he said, oh, you play piano too, do you? I said, yep. And anyway, another line I said, I was sitting at the bar with him in the dressing room, and another line I delivered, and this is one that got him. I said, I read all of your books, and my favorite was when you talked about being on the decks of the Queen Mary when you were sailing over to do a command performance. Oh, and that's when I got his attention. And then he said, I'd like to hear you play sometime. So then that happened, and I flew over the following Tuesday. That was on a Saturday night, and I flew over the following Tuesday, and I was going to play for him, which I did, and then he invited me to stay for dinner, but he was doing a show at the MGM Grand. So I sat down, was going to have dinner. The regular pianist came in, Paul Balfour, and he went over to the piano, and he came back and sat down. He didn't know who I was. He said, he's a black man. He said, man, I don't feel like playing tonight. I was out with my wife last night. I'm bone hungover. So I said, well, you shouldn't play. He said, but I don't want to tell the manager. He'll get all pissed off at me. He's really mean. So I said, well, you can go out that door over there, and I'll tell him that you had to go home. Well, he did. And then they came back and they said, where's Paul? He's supposed to start. And I said, well, he wasn't feeling well. He had to go home. So they said, oh, my God, what are we going to do? We have Joan Rivers coming in tonight, Faye McKay, Buffet McKay. She was this heavy comedian. She's just hilarious. Wayne Newton was coming in that night, so they were going to have all that going on. I said, I'll play. And they said, well, there's music in the piano bench. I said, I don't read music. I don't need that. I play by ear. So I went over and sat down at the piano, and I started to play, and as celebrities were coming in, all the press came in, and the people came in, and they called Lee when he finished his show at the MGM Grand. They said, you've got to get over here and see this, see what's going on. The place was packed, and I had him rocking. He came up to the piano, and he said, let's play a duet. That's one of the ones so we played I Got Rhythm. He sat down with me and did that, and after we finished, it's yay, yay, with applause. And he said, come over, I want to talk to you. We sat down at a table. He said, would you like to work for me? And I said, yes.
That day worked out pretty well for you, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that's how that came together. And I set a date, and I came in.
What year was that? Roughly, circa.
18. I look good for my age. No, it was 1983.
Okay. That's remarkable. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was all, I'm very much into creative visualization and synchronicity and all the metaphysical stuff that goes on. The universe brings us into situations. And it was just unbelievable. And the thing is, it still is. It still is ongoing because the Liberace legacy goes on. Like I was at the Liberace Mansion a week ago Monday. And David and I played over there. So people.
That's right. You were back in Vegas
for the fan club. Oh, these people are not right. They are just
the
not
Liberace
right.
fan club.
Oh my gosh, they are just over the top. They all, the piano ring he wore here. Yeah. They
have one.
All of them. They all have the same ring. It's rhinestones. It's right here. They all have one, and they're all blinged out. This one gal came in, and I said, "My God, you are picking up HBO, girl." She was so proud of it. I didn't like the outfit necessarily. So, you're talking to a gay man here. I know what's going on.
So, how old were you when you started becoming a fan of Liberace's?
Well, I was 8 years old when my Aunt Thelma took me to Starlight Musicals in Indianapolis, Indiana, when he was playing.
And you're from
Indianapolis. Yeah, I was born and raised there. So we went to Starlight Musicals, and I was just like, wow, this is really... I could do that because I was playing. I was 8. And I was playing, picking up everything.
By ear,
yes.
Because you never read music.
No. And so I decided right then that someday I'm going to meet this man, and I'm going to do what he's doing. So
I'm
cool.
fascinated by that moment where you're sitting at the piano playing something for him. After all of that 8-year-old growing up to that point, what was...
Oh, you mean when I played in Las Vegas for him? It was stellar. It was surreal.
Yeah.
And the song that I played that got him was one that Michael Feinstein taught me. Is I Love the Piano, Irving Berlin. And when I didn't put anything together to audition. I never organized. Well, this one had a tough time getting the song set list out of me. It's beating me.
That's right. Bruce, you served as the producer of the event. So
yes.
Yeah. Right.
Did you ever get a set?
Yeah, I did, actually. And remarkable. I was trying to, are you going to be upstage or are you going to be downstage? What's all this technical stuff?
How the hell do I know? And then David Mayako said, we are audience inspired. That's it, and I'm going with it.
Bruce, talk a little bit about Liberace's intersection with the Coachella Valley.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that many people realize that he was as huge as he was in the Coachella Valley because, I've been here working for newspapers since 1979, and he never gave a public performance all during that time. But he gave his first public performance in Palm Springs, I'm talking about, in 1951. And the woman who booked him originally at the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas was Mousy Powell's sister. You remember Mousy Powell?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like they named a hamburger after her at the Racket Club. And
oh yeah.
Right. And so Maxine Lewis booked him into the Frontier, and she was also booking the Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
So when he came, she booked him into the Chi-Chi, and it was bigger than when Frank Sinatra ever played. He never was booked
huge
there, but Sinatra used to come in all the time.
Yeah, he loved the Chi-Chi.
I mean, it was such a small venue. This guy played for audiences over 100,000 people. Not many people realize that today. And David Mayako said, I play all the gay hotspots, and he is not a gay icon. Why is that? He came from a different.
It is peculiar.
Yeah, he came from a different era. He never was out, but he was certainly the most famous gay performer, gay celebrity that Palm Springs has ever had. And it was part of my mission actually to say that he belongs on the Palm Springs celebrity Mount Rushmore with Sonny Bono, Bob Hope, and Frank Sinatra. Liberace deserves to be there. And that was sort of my mission and I got to write a story for the Gay Desert Guide, CB Independent, and a lot of other publications.
He was never out.
Right.
Officially,
right.
But it was sort of a wink and a nod, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There was
while he was filing lawsuits against people that were saying he was gay.
Yeah, the one in London, which he won.
And once you win that, it's kind of hard to say, I was kidding.
That's why through all the years that he did not make flamboyant other than the outfits that he wore on stage. They like flew through the air in red, white, and blue hot pants, stuff like that.
But who hasn't? Oh, sorry, that was last week.
Yeah. Oh my! Does he have to be here?
We ask that question every week.
You were talking about Liberace, and he was the Palm Springs premier dog lover.
He was. I mean, that was another thing that really convinced me that this is a guy that we need to pay tribute to as a fundraiser for Amy's Purpose. I just a year ago, I happened to see a video of him with all his dogs, and he was talking about how he got these dogs. A lot of his fans couldn't afford to take care of their pets anymore, and they would give them to Liberace. And, Liberace would adopt these dogs, and he had over 24 dogs at any one time.
That's unbelievable.
It really is, yeah.
When I first met him at the MGM Grand, when I was going up after the show, and I was all rattled like this, and we were in a very large elevator, it's a freight elevator, and all of a sudden the doors went, oh, wait, open the doors. They brought in 4 dogs. On leash, they were taking the dogs up to the dressing room to be with him.
Oh. And just any kind of dog? Like, did he have
these were cute, like Bichon Frise. They were little frou-frou dogs.
Little fluffy dogs.
Because he wasn't gay,
But he had big dogs, too. He had standard poodles.
Oh, yeah. And he had Afghans.
Afghans, right.
Giant Afghans.
They're beautiful dogs.
Yeah. But they brought those in, and it was fun, and they just let him loose in the dressing room.
So, after this incredible evening where Lee says to you, would you like to work for me? So what did you do? And how long did you do it?
I was at the Tivoli Gardens, basically. And
that's Liberace's restaurant, for those who don't know.
And it was inspired because he was very fond of the Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen. Yeah. He went
took
there.
The kids there.
Oh.
We had a stopover coming back from Lithuania.
I saw that.
And we I was like, we should go to Tivoli Gardens. I'm like,
It was brand new back then, so it was sparkling. You know, it was just fabulous. But he did the restaurant. He got put it in a shopping center, and each room had a different theme. There was the Wedgwood theme, and then there was another one that Delft. There was another one, this crystal room. So everything, all his collections, and he had an antique store next door. He did, yeah, because his collection was so big that he just stuffed it all in there. As a matter of fact, the candelabra that I put on the piano for our performance was one that I actually purchased from the antique store, the crystal candelabrum. So in essence, he owned the candelabra that was on the piano.
Wow.
But the home that he had 4 homes at any one time in Palm Springs. But the big one that he had on Bilardo, he spent every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, and every Halloween there. And all these kids who grew up in Palm Springs all knew Liberace is the guy who gave the best candy. You know, Steve Poltz had a great story about how when he realized Steve Poltz is a great performer if you don't know him, and he grew up in Palm Springs, and he would go trick-or-treating at Liberace's house, and then he would get this big candy, then he would go away, change costumes, and come back. And he had a doorbell that would dun 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 dun.
He would give the odd silver dollar too.
I've heard that.
Sneak them in there.
So that's very
Bruce,
cool.
was there anything that he was doing that was keeping him from taking this role in the desert?
He was very selective about the media that he did. I never got to do an interview with him. He did interviews with our society editor. He had a friend who was the divorced wife of his old producer, Tito Minor. You knew Tito, who was a great promoter of Liberace, and she was very close friends with our society editor, Aline Arthur. So Aline would get a tour of the Liberace house, and he would do these tours for select charities, and that would be doing in lieu of performances. But just before he died, he did 2 weeks at Radio City Music Hall that broke records.
Sold out.
Yeah, 2 weeks of sold out shows. So
most tickets ever sold at Radio City.
And from
to this day.
And from there, he went to Palm Springs and was checked into Eisenhower Hospital, and it was a rapid deterioration. I mean, no one could have had any idea at Radio City Music Hall that he was ill.
Yeah.
But he had the HIV virus, and that was one of the other reasons that he was so significant. And I was kind of involved in that. I was at the Desert Sun. I was an editor of the Desert Sun at the time, entertainment editor, and we had all this national press coming to camp out at Liberace's house, and we were competing with all these other newspapers and TV, and so we had to have people who were there not 24 hours, but certainly till midnight at night. We were putting clerks, people who were working as clerks at the Desert Sun, and having them camp out at night when we didn't have reporters there.
And did he pass away here?
He passed away here, yeah. And Jerry actually got in to see him just before he died.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I was low on the totem pole, so I went in the side, and all the family and everybody saw it, and then I got in it just before. And then I heard on the news on the way back that they said, news, 98-year world in 22 minutes or whatever it was. The famed pianist Liberace has died. So,
were you able to say goodbye?
Well, he was incoherent. He was comatose. And, of course, Ray Arnett called me, his stage director. He said, if you want to see Lee, get over here now because it's not long for this world. So I went over. So it was just crazy.
He had a PR person in New York who was trying to manage the press from New York. I mean, originally Seymour Heller, his manager, was there and saying, no, he does not have AIDS. He does not have AIDS. So it became a big deal because it was right after Rock Hudson had acknowledged that he was gay and had AIDS, and everybody was hoping that Liberace would do the same thing.
Acknowledge that, but he never did.
He never did.
Never did say anything.
And the really weird thing is that my family doctor was the one who said that he died and signed the death certificate saying he did not have AIDS. And that became very, very controversial. The coroner was going to sue him. And in actuality, if you look at it, you don't die of AIDS. Right. AIDS is a syndrome.
It's related.
I mean, it stimulated some thought about the nature of AIDS, and and for that reason alone, I think that he's a valuable asset to the Coachella Valley legacy.
He would not admit that he had AIDS or acknowledge the health issue. Stems back to the lawsuit in London, because he won that lawsuit and he was afraid that anybody ever found out that he was gay. Well, then they would
relitigate.
Right.
Yeah.
But Ray Arnett, I have a cassette tape, which I think I recently located. Remember Joe Hyams was married? He was a best-selling author. He was married to Elke Summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was an inspiration for the book I wrote. And Joe Hyams, I wanted to meet Ray Arnett, so I introduced the two of them, and I recorded the interview between the two of them. Boy, Ray Arnett came out with a lot of stuff. He said that Liberace always had the net out. He was always looking for something new and something to take behind closed doors. And I was quoted on a couple TV shows as saying that people got very mad at me, but he would go to clubs and things like that, but he was hidden in the corner, because if he revealed that he was gay, then again they would relitigate, and that was a problem.
How is he?
Well, it was also about his fan base too, though.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well,
his fan base.
You know, that middle America who loved Liberace.
Oh. I still, when I perform,
would look completely the other way. Like, no, he's not. He's just a very flamboyant entertainer.
How does that happen? They don't look at me like that. They see you big sissy la. Sit here.
I have never heard anybody call you that ever.
Oh, well,
you haven't been hanging around me enough.
I'm sorry. I meant my
Bruce,
other than Bruce.
Anyway, before it was
my God, why did I say that?
So Jerry, what was the?
Let me finish this thought. When I was performing on cruise ships, which I did for 36 years, and they always Liberace discovered Jere Ring appearing tonight, and these women would come up to me on the tottering up and say, did Liberace, the best one I ever delivered, she said, he didn't like men, did he really like men? I said, no, he was actually into small goats and sheep. she turned and walked away from me.
I bet.
Cards and letters to Jere Ring.
I wish we had been able to follow her to her table to hear the rest of that story.
Well, she didn't go to her table. She went over the side.
Yes.
So
correct.
what was how was the gay community feeling about Liberace that he wouldn't come out?
Oh, they were not happy.
But at the same time, there was so many closeted gays at that time. You know,
in the 80s, it was. Oh yeah.
And he had his own little community of friends.
He did.
Do you remember George Allardyce by any chance?
Oh yeah.
No. George Allardyce was the guy who created the it was a gold book here, but it was the society book. You know, he was a guy who always had these openings that were big society events, and he knew all the society ladies, so he put them in a book. And he also gave the idea for the Walk of Stars, and he was friends with Liberace. He set him up with this guy who robbed Liberace, and George was going, you have to call the police. He goes, oh no, we can't do that.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Right.
That was the way it was back in that time.
Break open the secret.
Right.
We have to take a very quick break to acknowledge our presenting sponsor, the McCallum Theater. You can go to McCallumtheater.org, get your tickets. They're great supporters of Big Conversation Little Bar. They are the reason that we're having this conversation.
The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now. The world's top artists, from jazz, pop, classical, and comedy to the best of Broadway, only at the Valley's favorite place for great entertainment. Tickets are on sale now at the McCallum Theater box office, by phone, or online at McCallumtheater.org. Tickets sell quickly, so order yours today. A new, exciting season only at the McCallum. The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now.
Once again, our thanks to the McCallum Theater. Gary Keefe and his entire crew over there. They do a great job. We're gearing up for season. It's going to be an exciting one. Randy's got tickets to virtually every show.
Burton Cummings.
I know, Burton.
Hasn't he played yet?
I may be the only one in the theater. People have heard me say it so many times, I think it's sold out.
I feel certain it's going to sell out because, he's doing the whole show, Burton Cummings and Goings. That's
so
the name of the show.
Speaking of Gary Keefe, that was another gentleman who spent a large part of his career doing music on cruises. Didn't Gary kind of invent that?
No.
Musicals on cruises?
Musicals on cruise ships.
Really?
Which sometimes perform music, I'm told.
But there was music, like Jere Ring, the gentleman, he invented music on cruise ships.
I heard George Washington had a pianist as he was crossing the Delaware.
Yeah, and I was rowing.
You were
George
you were
slept on
playing,
the cruise
damn it. That seems wrong. to me.
Jerry, was it always going to be a musical path for you as you were growing up?
Well, I really didn't know. I don't take my music seriously because I don't read. And it's like some people are desperate to be on stage, you know. I love the attention. I really do, and I love doing the shows.
This is, see, I wouldn't characterize you as a musician.
No,
you're an entertainer.
Yes.
Okay.
Jerry is a pure entertainer. And you were talking about Amore Restaurant in La Quinta. I mean, those were wonderful nights if you walked in. Because it wasn't, you're right, it's not about the music for you. It's because you interact with the audience. Yeah. Everybody becomes a part of the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I pick on people.
Well, and that is what led you to stop doing the cruise ship thing, because people got
they did.
A little persnickety about it.
Oh, yeah.
Tell that story.
Oh, do I have to?
Not if you don't want to, but, I think it's kind of telling, because
there was a group of women that came on board. This was on the Grand Princess in 2018. And they had friends from Trilogy Senior Living up by San Francisco. Anyway, these women all came to them. Oh, we're friends and you're friends, and let's take a picture. So they got around the piano. Well, they were all these women, you know, that had very expensive. Are those real? Yeah, real expensive. All pushed up around their ears and bleach blonde hair. You see some of them around here on occasion.
Sounds like my first wife.
There you go. I think it was. Anyway, they all came up, and then they went over to the bar. And
she had a lot of things pushed up around her ears.
Oh,
Lord.
What? Did you say that?
I did not.
Scares me. I'm telling you.
Maybe the only
story. I'm sorry. You tell a story.
So, anyway, these women all went over to the bar, and they were standing with elbows like this, and they were up back like this, and standing like, they look like the cast of Chicago or Sweet Charity or something like that. So I referred to them and I said, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Trilogy Hookers. It didn't go over so well. And this one bitch, one woman.
God, no.
Came at me.
And what was her name?
No. You can.
There was a kitty cat.
Yeah,
Come on.
I forget. Yeah, it was a kitty cat. Anyway, so I heard the next day that she was not happy about that. The audience caught onto it, and they loved it. Every time this group of women would walk through, this, Jerry, they're the hookers. Well, she got all of her friends and everybody to write a letter to the captain. I had 36 years, 72 ships, different cruise ships, hundreds of contracts, stellar reviews, and they left my ass in San Francisco. They put me off the ship. That was it. Done.
Wow.
Yeah, because she said, and here's the fun part. She came to me one night, she was screaming at me, I think you're rude. And I said something else, and she turned around and she screamed, fuck yeah. I said, that's what I want to hear in my audience. You're talking about me. She said, my husband is an attorney, and I'm going to sue you. Sort of like, get an expensive attorney. A really expensive attorney. So
my wife is a really expensive attorney.
I heard that's not all. So
whoa!
Speaking of Trilogy Hookers.
Oh, now come on. That was the first wife.
Thank God our wives don't listen to this.
Catch this. Turns out her husband, Johnny, my partner, did some research on it. He's a retired detective. So what goes better together than a retired detective and a hooker? So I pushed her button, and she looked like one. That was the end of that. It was right in the middle of the Me Too stuff. I'm not going to take that anymore. Oh, get away from my piano. And my organ.
So you were canceled by the cruise. Yeah, and my organ.
Yes. No, but speaking of organs, I can tell you one line that Liberace would use at a party. He would never say it on stage, but he'd say, I play a great piano, but I suck on the organ. I used that line last week. I did a comedy show in Los Angeles last Thursday. That was the line that brought the house down. Yay, me.
Oh, my God. All right, there was a story about the Marine story that you were going to tell.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a whole
at Bruce's urging.
at Bruce's urging. Well, there was a whole clan of us. That's when Lee had the limousine with the piano keys down the side. He had it brought, usually in Las Vegas, but it was over in Palm Springs. And there was a crew of us that wanted to go up to, there was a guy named Jere Kennedy who had married a very wealthy woman. He was a little light in the loafers, but he married this woman. She lived in La Jolla. And she died. And she left a massive fortune to this guy. So he used to wear, he drove a little red Ferrari and had these little Ferragamo slippers and tipped down around. Anyway, he went up.
So it worked out for him.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He was seeing a Marine up in 29 Palms. So he went up to see this guy. Checked into a hotel. So well, while he was up there, he said, "Oh, I kind of like this bar." He walked in. "How much do you want for this bar?" And they said, "What?" He brought out his checkbook. "How much do you want for the bar?" So he wrote a check and he bought the bar. So then he started redoing all that, and then he went over and he found a disco club. It was called, it was a cowboy bar. It was a dance bar. He went over, "How much you want for this?" So he bought that, and he turned the name of it to the Jumping Choya. Well, he was a friend of Lee's, and Lee wanted to see, I want to go and see Jere Kennedy's neighbor. And he bought a little cracker box house, and he kept expanding it. And it was like the Winchester House. They kept building on and on.
Keep building.
Yeah, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and we went up there. It ended up they had 8 bedrooms, so we all weren't going to stay overnight, but the 8 bedrooms were occupied by Marines. and went up there, and I walked in the backyard. It's like, "Oh, girls, let's do this." And all the Marines were in Speedos sitting around the pool, and I said, "I think I'll stay. We were all piled in that limousine." Anyway, we went over to see the Jumping Choya, and then after that we were driving back to the desert. And this young guy came up. I mean, he was big shouldered, big guy, like, you know. And he walked over. "Mr. Liberace, my mom," he's like 25 years old, and we have tongues around our ankles. And
I love your straight guy voice, by the way.
You like that?
Yeah. It's
wait, I'll have to pop another butch pill. It'll go away. Anyway,
wildly entertaining.
Mr. Liberace, my mom and my grandmom really, really liked you. Could you sign an autograph? So, do you remember the autograph? The pen would go. He would draw the piano with the candelabra and tip the keys, and he would sign it. While he was doing that, this guy said, "Mr. Liberace, were you ever in the Marines?" And we're all like, "Oh, yeah." Get this. And Lee, just a wit like this, he looked up and he said, "Oh, I've been in quite a few of them."
What's the saying? Looking for a few good men?
Yeah.
Heads of the Marines?
You know, I interviewed Jere for Coachella Independent, and, you know, he told me that story, but I couldn't use it, so I was just dying for him to tell the public this, and I'm so glad that you're so open to this type of humor.
He had a wit. He had a wicked wit.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of that, so he and I got along very well on that.
We're gonna this show could rival Renovus. What's the guys from Renovus?
Oh, Vince Battaglia.
Yes.
Well, that was the inaugural F-bomb, and then multiple F-bombs.
Yeah, but Michael Holmes, I think he might hold the record.
Oh, Michael Holmes does,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, fuck him.
And that was Bruce Fessier.
I went to the Purple Room last week to see Lucy Arnaz, and Michael came over to the table, and I was talking to Patrick Harrington. We were sitting at the, and I asked Michael. I said, "Michael, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. How old are you?" He said, "I'm 17, and how dare you ask that question of me?"
Oh my
so
goodness.
Bruce, you've written all these articles, you've put on these events. Is the needle moving at all? Do you feel like you're gaining some traction?
Well, it's so hard to say. It hasn't been that long. I mean, I don't know when this is going to air, but from the time we're talking, it was just 2 weeks ago, and there has been a lot of conversation. I was really thrilled to have a story in the Gay Desert Guide. Brad Furr said this is really an important story for us, so it met the audience, and those are the people who were going to make someone a gay icon. So hopefully, but
all right, but that's by the way. Brad's a great guy, and I work for him on 103.1 MeTV FM. You can listen every day, 10 to 3.
Yay.
Timeless and memorable favorites. Had to get the plug in.
And I'm just taking money. Anybody wants to hand me cash, I'll take that. Go ahead.
Which exchange are you working at this week?
I just want money.
Oh. He's just out there panhandling. But it's something to overcome because Liberace never acknowledged and couldn't, as you pointed out after the lawsuit.
He didn't. It was weird.
And so, how do you create a gay icon from a man who never would admit it publicly?
To make people understand the times. It's all about context. I mean, history is all about context, and we're always reevaluating and redoing stories that have been already told because we have a new context, we have a new understanding.
That's right.
I mean, Palm Springs is an LGBTQ capital of the world today, and Liberace was one of the great entertainers in Palm Springs. Why shouldn't we acknowledge him among today's audience?
Well, but here's my question, is how do you get the LGBTQ community to embrace Liberace when he refused to embrace the community?
By, again, creating the context in which he refused to talk about his sexuality. And we're not denying his sexuality because he had to. I mean, I think that there's we're finding out a lot of great attributes and some negative attributes about people in history. Andrew Jackson was a guy who was put on the $20 bill because they thought he was this great populist. Now we know that he was a guy who massacred, a race of people. When history evolves, you come in with a different understanding of historical figures, and we have a different understanding of Liberace today, and he should be acknowledged as a great human being. Everybody who knew him talked about his humanity. I mean, he was a really nice guy.
Very much so.
Yeah, right. So that's what we want to get across.
That was a different day, too. I don't think that people, when they think of Liberace, they think of the image and the flamboyance and the fabulousness, like all these people that were at this gala a week ago Monday in Las Vegas. A lot of these people don't acknowledge his sexuality or his gay. It's just the enormity of his presence. And that,
Well, in many ways, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
In terms of what he did on stage, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I look also, younger generations coming up, we have these conversations with my daughters who are 19 and 16. And at one point, I remember my wife, someone said, one of our daughters has a crush on someone. And my wife was like, is it a boy or a girl?
Well, yeah, right.
But I don't think our kids... I don't think that generation thinks of sexuality the way that we grew up.
Not at all.
Thinking of it, and certainly not, putting people in silos. Like, I think it matters far less to them.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a really good thing if that. Yeah, I hope that's the case because I see the same thing. Even at my granddaughters at 13, things seem to be a little bit more undefined, but in a lot of ways.
I think, I don't know that they are undefined. I think the definitions matter less. Like for my daughters, certainly the definitions matter less. Yeah. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. You are whomever you happen to be.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's go to the Americana and hang out. That's really.
And they look at me and say, "That's not the reason we don't like you." Yeah,
that's right. We dislike you for a number of reasons. Your sexuality is not that.
Another issue that comes up now is a lot of people don't know who Liberace was. Yeah. When we were looking for the piano that we were going to use for the performance, for the concert, I went to Palm Desert Piano, and I walked in with my book, and I opened it, the page with Liberace, and the guy that was standing there, he's the piano salesman. He's the manager of the store. And I showed him the book. I said, check this out, dude. Or, check this out, dude. No, I said it like this. Check this out, dude. So, but I showed him the picture. He didn't know who Liberace was. And he is a piano salesman at Palm Desert. I said, what?
Or how about the KESQ producers said, are you here to talk about Liberace?
Yeah.
One of our producers said that?
Liberace. He called Liberace. Liberace. Are you Liberace?
Yes.
I said,
look,
no.
There are generation gaps.
Yes.
And I see stuff on Instagram. There was this great clip I saw today of Liberace, and he was doing Feeling Groovy.
Yes. Oh, so many people have sent that to me. If one more person sent
I'm going to send it to you right now.
Okay,
no, it's hilarious. But it's such a slice of history.
One of the biggest fans in our Liberace fan base is a guy named David Frachero from Boston. And Maria brought her 3 children, 2 of which are autistic. And Gabe Frachero, I think he knows you. He does the Sinatra Club thing. And yeah, you know who he is.
Yes.
Everybody who sings Summer Wind knows each other.
Yeah. Right?
It's a smaller club than the Liberace Club,
anyway,
but we all do. We all know each other. We have a meeting.
This boy is 32 years old, and he would never have the chance to see. He was a long time, but he's a huge fan. And they brought him over to the gala in Las Vegas too. So.
Did Liberace have any hits?
That's the other thing, is that he was an entertainer,
right?
And he was deprecated because he wasn't the serious artist. He wasn't a composer.
That's right. Yeah.
And the classical musicians deprecated him for being an entertainer, and that was again ahead of his time. I mean, today, you're encouraged to. Well,
he had a certain style.
Yeah.
It was a style in the presence. As a matter of fact, I mentioned Phyllis Diller that gifted me with that bowl that I took over. Oh, you weren't there for that.
And people don't remember that she was a classical pianist.
Yes, she was.
Phyllis Diller was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
She had a Crimson Steinway Grand, a concert grand in her living room.
I did not remember that. I never knew that.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
Yeah.
But she mentioned about Liberace off the cuff one time that he was a studio musician. Because his piano, he wasn't classic. He didn't play a lot of the players. There's something. I wasn't a studio musician, but it's close to that. People say, who does she think she is? Phyllis Diller?
Was he ever trying to do something musically before he became the Liberace that we know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he started off as a classical pianist, but, like a lot of people, like my friend Paul Krasner, when you get people to laugh at you on stage, that's pretty infectious.
Yeah.
and I think that's
why he
for the right reasons, Randy. For the right reasons.
Yeah. He did the 3 little fishes thing.
Can I just go back to you're talking about the heritage? I think it's really important to remember, what. I mean, maybe I have no right to be the guy who's making this argument, but I think about Oscar Wilde being sentenced to manual labor for being homosexual. I think it's important that we remember the history of the LGBTQ movement. And Liberace was an extension of that, he was an extension of that to Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley and he were close friends. He's the one who told Elvis that he had to wear costumes, and they were actually neighbors in Palm Springs. They barbecued together. I mean, I did an interview with Gladys Lucky, who was Liberace's housekeeper, and she cooked, and she was there for like over 30 years. And they exchanged flowers and gifts at every special occasion. Colonel Parker told me too that Colonel Parker went over to Liberace's house and played Santa Claus at his Christmas parties. Colonel Parker says that we are a family of entertainers here in Palm Springs, and he did that for Sinatra too. Colonel Parker went to Sinatra's house and played Santa Claus.
I would kill to be at a barbecue with Elvis and Liberace.
Exactly.
That probably would be the pinnacle of entertainment. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I think you're not the wrong guy to take up the mantle. I think anybody, as an ally, it's okay to take up that mantle, and because we're all just.
Well, I've grown too. I've had people who tell me that you're not growing fast enough, but I've been told that, and if I could get in one other change that he made to Palm Springs was a town that everybody went to escape controversy at one time. Going back from New York Mayor Jimmy Walker in 1930, when he was in a scandal, he came to Palm Springs and was embraced.
Spiro Agnew.
Really?
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, Spiro was great buddies with
Patty
Hearst.
Patty Hearst, when she was on trial, she came down here and stayed with her aunt, and aunt and uncle here, and when Liberace came, all of a sudden it changed. You couldn't escape the limelight. Everybody came around the country to hang out in front of his house. And what's really interesting is that just about a week before that vigil, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker bought a house in Palm Springs.
Wow.
And a week, maybe 2 weeks after the vigil in front of Liberace's house, there was a vigil in front of Jim and Tammy Baker's house. And we had a report, John Husser, as a matter of fact. You know John Husser?
I know John very well, yes.
John ran into Tammy Faye Baker at a restaurant, Old World, I think it was, and this woman was thinking that John was trying to hound them, and John has just happened to be there, but he knows that there's this vigil going on, so of course he asks a question, and they said Palm Springs used to be a place where you could find privacy, not anymore. You could blame Liberace for that change. Palm Springs was not isolationist after Liberace
Wow,
died.
I never knew that.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Like the racket club,
Yeah.
the old racket club.
Yeah, I mean,
I played the
Guys,
racket
we're going to
club.
take a quick break here, and I'm going to ask you some questions.
No, we're going to do both. You got to do both.
Both?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have
'cause
two
we
guests.
we weren't doing it when you were here.
It's time for our rapid round.
Our rapid round. It's time for the Big Conversations Little Bar Rapid Round. We ask our guests 5 key questions and want them to answer
Not
all
that
of them
kind of rapid
in
round.
under 2 minutes. The rapid round is presented by Vitara Wellness, just a stone's throw from Little Bar at 74345 Highway 111 in Palm Desert. Vitara Wellness is your path to lasting weight loss success. Open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Vitara Wellness offers medical weight loss services, IV vitamin and hydration therapy, hormone replacement therapy, and regenerative cell therapy. Transform your health, transform your life. Visit them online at Vitara. That's VITARA wellness.com. Live well.
you've gotten better at that
Have I?
since you had acting instructions from Jane and me.
And since your last car accident.
It turned my life around. Yeah, I've never been able to read that commercial better. Thank you guys for that. All right.
You really have.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Dogs.
I knew that one of you. Thank you. We actually had somebody yesterday for the first time say cats. And
Oh, no.
But they meant the musical. I mean, that wasn't the question we were
that's
asking.
No, I tell people I don't like pussy of any form.
Cards and letters to Jere Ring.
all right. Jerry, you have somebody visiting the desert for the first time. Where do you want to take them?
Spencer's.
Bruce,
La Quinta Hotel.
La Quinta Hotel.
I changed mine. I want to go there too.
So you can see Bruce.
No, it has nothing to do with him.
Bruce, you can recommend one book to a college graduate. What is it?
The Bible.
Jerry?
My book.
That's the perfect answer.
The title.
Those are
Give
two
the
different
title of your
books,
book.
right?
The title of my book is If the Shoe Fits, Buy Two. And it's all about celebrities and things like that.
It's available on Amazon.com.
No, not anymore. Just find me and I'll give you one.
Oh, wonderful.
At Spencer's.
Which show would you most likely watch, Friends or Cheers?
Cheers.
Neither.
Didn't like the shows, or you're not?
Never watched them.
Really?
Never saw an episode of either.
Wow.
He does watch News Channel 3 in the morning because he'll text me about my ties every once in a while.
I do. Yeah, I do. And Big Bang Theory.
You like the Big Bang
Yeah.
Theory? My all-time favorite show.
Yay!
Yeah.
You're my new best friend.
You can wear one color for the rest of your life. What is it?
Blue.
Bruce?
Yep.
Blue?
Am I blue?
Am I wearing blue for the rest of my life? No, I'm a black guy.
I changed mine. I want to go black too. Because once you go black, you never go
At the La
back.
Quinta Hotel.
Yeah, with my
Cards and letters to Jere Ring. This may be the podcast that gets censored.
No.
Go ahead.
I had to recommend the Bible just because I threw out that F-bomb.
Oh, so it was really to
late.
fix yourself.
No, actually, I think I'll stick with the Bible.
The Bible would be a good book. Yeah, I mean, if you want to read
I think it is
fiction.
called The Good Book, as a matter of fact.
I just came up with that.
That's great. You should patent that. One more question.
Do I have another question?
Was that 5?
I think that was.
Oh. Well, in that case,
quick.
That's this
why they
week's
call it
Rapid Round, presented by
Round.
Vitara Wellness in Palm Desert. Visit VitaraWellness.com or give them a call at 760-208-4011.
I wonder if I've actually ever done this the way it was supposed to be done. No?
It's the nice thing about the podcast. The rules are very loose, very vague.
No kidding.
As are our standards, apparently.
And entertainment.
I'm going to call you Rapid Randy from now on.
Rapid Rant.
That could be taken.
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay, you're not going to say that my wife's been calling me that for years.
Yeah. Bring that up in my neighborhood. You'll be very popular.
You'll get lots of dinner invitations, Randy.
At Spencer's.
Jerry, what's coming up for you next?
Oh, a lot of rest and relaxation.
Yeah?
Yeah,
And what does that look like for you? What do you do to rest and relax?
I go to Spencer's.
You still do a lot of traveling, though. You still love to go on cruises.
Yeah, I
you
do
don't
a lot
perform
of cruises,
on the
but
Do
cruise.
you have to use a different name when you book yourself onto a
I
cruise
go
ship?
Joyce. No, I have a wonderful lady friend who lives in Phoenix, Donna Delpier, and she's a travel agent. And she calls me up and she says, "I have a screaming deal." So I said, "Oh, count me in." So we go off here and there and everywhere, and it's a lot of fun.
You also go back to Indiana.
I did recently, and I was around a lot of little children and snot-nosed little crotch monkeys, and I got a huge cold. So I don't like children. I like them less than I did before. People say you have children. Dogs. I have dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah. No, but it's still,
Crotch monkeys. I've got to write that.
Write that one down. Crotch monkeys.
yeah, but I still have some things, lined up. I'm doing a performance on the East Coast for a rather interesting family that I met years ago when I was in Newbern, North Carolina. And I was sitting in an oyster bar, and these people, we started chatting. Turns out it's Mark and Sissy Chestnut. He's the leading attorney in the state of North Carolina. So they've invited me to play one of their cocktail parties.
Nice.
And they said, the only problem is we don't have a piano. I said, "You're rich. Get one." I'm not going to bring one. But I'll bring my organ. And I still don't like cats.
Bruce, how about you? Besides your Facebook posts, what's coming up for you?
This will be past tense by the time this airs, but I'm going to New York on Friday. I'm looking forward to seeing Tammy Faye on Broadway.
That's cool.
See some Broadway shows.
I want to hear about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ever since the concert, don't say anything to Jane, but Bruce and I are secretly dating, so we're going to take a rendezvous here and there.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to say I'm going to see Marilyn May at the Purple Room.
Oh, when is
coming
that?
Up. She's coming around Thanksgiving, but she'll be here after.
She's remarkable.
In December too. Yeah, we ought to go.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm doing. Ruta Lee is celebrating her 90th birthday, May 30th of next year. I opened for
90.
her.
That's crazy.
I opened for her this past May at the Vibrato Herb Albert's Club in Los Angeles. So she's asked me to be a part of that.
Marilyn May is 96.
Yeah, Marilyn May is 96.
Yeah.
I saw Ruta Lee. My wife and I saw her the day after her show because she was doing an autograph show in L.A.
Yeah.
We were
The Hollywood something or another.
And we walked in. The first thing she says, "You should have been there last night." So, damn it, we missed it.
Isn't that funny? We said the same thing.
Yeah, I don't want to get back into that.
I
won't.
want to say that David Mayelko is returning to Palm Springs on March 20th at Piazza de Liberace. So
The North End.
this is a benefit for the Palm Springs International Piano Competition. You can check his website, their website out for ticket details. I know I'm not supposed to promote things on the show, but
That's not a rule either.
Oh, it's not a rule?
No,
Amy's
Amy's
anything of yours.
Okay.
Amy'sPurpose.net.
Yeah.
You've been heavily involved in that. I serve on the advisory committee, but you're very involved. Amy'sPurpose.net.
Yeah.
And they're doing really great work. And Deanne founded that out of true love and loss. And but they're doing great work because we have an enormous shortage of vets and veterinary staff in this valley. And people always ask, why is veterinary care so expensive? It's because it's really hard to hire vets at this point.
Yeah,
So
and we're one of the things that we did with that dinner is we put together a lot of different animal activists. We had a veterinarian at every table at our dinner. You know, you would have gotten to know I can't remember.
Well, you weren't there, were you?
No, I couldn't be there because Randy's wife was in a car accident.
I know.
They rushed right over.
Everybody who knew me was just beside themselves that night.
But my point is, we're making inroads on things like the overcrowding of the animal shelters and the fact that we have the highest euthanasia rate of any county in the United
Really?
States here. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
my God.
Yeah,
And-
no,
and-
it's been a point of I serve on the board of Animal Samaritans, and it's something we try to address because we're a full-service veterinary clinic as well, and it's an enormous problem here.
We had Supervisor Manuel Perez at our dinner, and he's formed an ad hoc committee to study this. And the guy who was heading up that ad hoc committee is Joel Solomon of Bighorn Golf Club. And we started the conversation there, and hopefully that's going to yield some results that'll make a big difference in the Coachella Valley.
It's a really good thing. Thank you
Love
for
what you
doing
guys
that.
are doing.
Yeah. that's
And this has been phenomenal.
This is what I was hoping it was going to be.
huge. What happened? Did I miss something?
This actually
This.
exceeded my
Oh.
expectations. So our thanks to Jere Ring and Bruce Fessier. And by the way, before we finish, we just lost one of the greats of the Coachella Valley, an incredible singer. Jack Jones passed away.
Oh.
You spent a lot of time with Jack.
Yeah.
I just think we should acknowledge what a singular talent he was.
He gave me one of the greatest compliments I ever received, and that was at Carol Channing's birthday party when she turned 95 at the McCallum. Mm-hmm. And I came into the foyer, and they were all standing in a circle, and I went up and I put my hand on his arm like this. I said, "Hi, Jack." And he turned around and he said, folks, this guy has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just amazed at that. I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Well, you're not too bad either, Bud." I'll never forget that. Yeah.
That's cool.
He's one of those few guys that you can become friends with because I criticized him early on. He got really upset with me. Wrote a letter to the editor about it, and then later on, he acknowledged that I had a point, and I recognized that he became a jazz singer in the 90s. I mean, he was a great pop singer in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but then he decided that he was going to go a different direction. He always
was
loved
wonderful.
jazz.
Yeah.
Always loved jazz. And we put on my wife was the director of this Jazz Celebrity Golf and Jam session, which had all these incredible musicians, and he came and he sang there, and because of the fact that we overcame the fact that I criticized him and that we were angry, he was angry at me, and then he respected me enough so that I knew that I had the freedom to criticize him again if I wanted to, and he knew that I wasn't just being vicious. I was just trying to be constructive. And when you have that kind of relationship, then you can be friends with someone.
Yeah.
You can't otherwise.
Can I tell one quick story on Bruce?
Yeah.
I don't think you know. I think
Only
you know
one?
the one I'm going to tell. The first time he reviewed me was in the year 2000, and I went into the racket club, the old racket club, and I was playing there. This is when, whatever the guy was, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he bought the club and he's putting it all. Bruce did this wonderful review, and this is before cell phones. We had landlines, So he put for reservations and information, call this number. He mistakenly put my home phone number in.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The phone to ring. Hello. Yeah, we'd like to get a table for 4 for Friday night. It's like, excuse me?
What makes you think that was a mistake?
Oh, man. Okay. Instead of Patrick, I'm going to beat up on you now. That's it. We're no longer dating. I'm done.
Wow. Don't break up on our podcast.
That was great, huh? I'll never forget that.
I love that. That was a
Jerry
great
Ring,
story.
Bruce Fessier, you guys were phenomenal.
Oh,
and we
gee.
appreciate you shedding light on Liberace's legacy. And I don't think people know just how much time he spent here.
Yeah.
And I think it's
He loved it here. Loved it.
Well, this has been a phenomenal
Good.
podcast. Thank you guys for this.
All right.
Haven't
Thanks for
laughed
being
this
here.
hard in a very long time.
Yeah.
Randy, thank you very much.
This was a blast.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
John McMullen, our producer. And you can find this podcast wherever you take your podcast, but we invite you to go to bigconversationslittle.bar.com and subscribe, because then you'll never miss an episode. You certainly don't want to miss this one. You can listen to it over and over.
I will.
You guys are hilarious. We should take this act on the road.
No, let's do it. You're only saying that because it's true.
They want to get rid of us.
No, not Not at all. No, I'm going with you.
To go on the road.
Go play in traffic is what I meant to say. No. Thank you very much. I'm Patrick Evans on behalf of all of our crew here at Big Conversations Little Bar. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll have another episode real soon.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Page's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, the center of the Coachella Valley universe. And presented by the McCallum Theater. Online at McCallumTheater.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify.